What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today I've got for you episode 4 in the Blabbermouth sister-in-law series. First of all, I want to say a big thank you to all of you. You guys are absolutely loving this. The support has been great. So of course, I'm back for more. Secondly, I've got to come clean. We had a little bit of an editing mishap. So what you're actually going to see in this episode takes place before episode 3, before the stories and the posts and the events that happened in episode 3. See it sort of like a prologue in a way. So this should in theory be episode 3, but it's not. I missed out some stories, but don't worry. You're not going to lose too much context. It's not that confusing. It's all sort of much of a muchness anyway. And the stories that I'm going to read in today's episode do provide some very necessary context for the entirety of this story. So to give some context of time, the first post here comes after the aftermath of the visit, explaining the fallout really, just generally giving more context to the wider story. So without further ado, I hope that makes sense. A little bit confusing, I know, but it will be fine. Don't worry. Let's get into it. Hope you enjoy. The aftermath concerning the visit, part 1. Explanation. First, I want to say that I've read all the comments. Thank you for taking the time to read my post and leave your thoughts. Also, I had my surgery and I'm recovering, slowly but steadily. My husband and the kids have been a huge help. Bless them. I also read some speculation about the college funds. Just to clarify, where I live, college isn't insanely expensive like it is in the USA. These funds are meant to cover community college type education or trade school, which is much less expensive than private or top tier universities. Also, the funds only cover tuition and books, no rent, extracurricular activities, or living expenses. So no, it doesn't cost millions as some people have suggested. As for the mortgages, they were not entirely paid off. I gave my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, as well as my brother, a sum that helped them significantly, but they paid off the remainder themselves. Regarding the investments, these were made before my husband was in the picture. I invested in some companies and technologies that later grew significantly. Not all of them paid off, but some did, and we count ourselves very lucky. A portion of the money goes towards our retirement funds and to charities both at home and abroad. I took investment advice from a professional when I first started, and I also completed a few investment courses. I was about 23 when I began. Also, I noticed that someone on YouTube had used my stories, and I read the responses. Some people asked why I would help a sister-in-law who ended up behaving the way she did. The answer is simple. We love her kids. The help was more for them than for her or her husband. Another reason was fairness. We wanted to treat people equally if possible. I now realize this may not have been the smartest approach. The final reason was that we had observed decent behavior for a while and thought that maybe she'd finally learn some manners. Now, back to the situation with a bit of backstory. Last time we left off, a group of aunts, uncles and cousins had come to our home, demanding and screaming for money. One of the uncles earned that nickname, the little love tap uncle, for the slap he gave me. One of the cousins who had received a certified loan has since paid back the full amount. I asked the family not to contact me directly and instead to reach out to my lawyer. To their credit, most respected this request. They did ask for a Zoom call to explain themselves, and my lawyer, husband and I agreed we'd consider that after the court cases were over. Also, the infamous $800,000 request was not per child as some assumed. It was actually a total sum meant to be split among all the grandchildren of the remaining family members. I went back over the recording to confirm that. Apologies for the earlier confusion. As it turns out, they'd basically made up a number and figured they'd see where it landed. Oh, and by the way, the love tap uncle's broken cheekbone wasn't broken, just severely bruised. Gossip grapevines aren't the most reliable sources. We also had to deal with the harassment from other family members following the virtual visits. Now, on to the update. I don't know every detail of the court proceedings as I couldn't attend due to non-COVID health issues. Most communication took place via online meetings because of ongoing COVID protocols. My love tap uncle was charged with trespassing, assault, and threatening bodily harm. He pled guilty. His lawyer stated that he had voluntarily begun anger management courses, and reports from both his therapist and a court-ordered psychologist confirmed what we suspected. This behavior was out of character, and he genuinely regrets his actions. According to my lawyer, the judge gave the uncle a very hard time. He didn't take kindly to a man hitting a woman and asked some tough questions. Mainly, why did he do it? And here's where it gets juicy. It turns out that Blabbermouth dumped kerosene on a fire that hadn't even been lit before her involvement. Prior to her calls and texts, the rest of the family didn't even know about our financial situation. We'd asked those who did know to keep it quiet, and they had, until now. Blabbermouth called the uncle and the rest of the family to tell them all about the money and how we were refusing to share it. Then came the lies. She turned on the waterworks, claiming I mocked their financial situations, flaunted my wealth, and treated them with disrespect and spite. She played the victim, accusing me of all kinds of horrible things, including making fun of their life choices, careers, ambitions, you name it. She pushed every emotional button they had, and she pushed hard. The reason the rest of the visitors went off the rails was, again, thanks to Blabbermouth and her manipulative storytelling. Honestly, that woman deserves an Oscar for her performance. The uncle and the visitors have since apologised for whatever it's worth. The judge asked if my lawyer had any input from our side, and my lawyer read the letter we had written. He told the court that we were deeply hurt by everything that had happened, that we never intended any harm or disrespect, and that we had simply chosen to use our money as we saw fit. We would have been willing to help those who truly needed it, but having money does not mean it should be handed out like dust in the wind. My lawyer also stated that we were angry at their entitlement, at them showing up, and of course at the slap in my face. I used to respect them deeply, but I will not accept this kind of behaviour from anyone. I asked the judge to ensure there were consequences. If that meant a criminal record or a sentence, so be it. Why should I feel compassion for people who felt the need to threaten and attack me? The Love Tap uncle was sentenced to 18 months of community service, a fine, and had to pay court costs. He's also required to continue anger management classes for at least another year. An evaluation will determine whether anything further is needed. From what I've been told, this will go on some sort of official record. I've accepted this outcome. The visitors were also charged with harassment and threatening a person. They pled guilty and were given a hefty fine plus 6 months of community service. I've accepted that outcome too. And just so it's clear, they had already received and paid fines for breaking social distancing laws during their little yard invasion. Some other family members received the equivalent of cease and desist letters from my lawyer after the virtual visit, since a few of them kept harassing us. It's been quiet ever since. That was part 1. I'll post another update soon about what happened after the court cases. And let's get straight into that. So here we go then. Part 2 posted 4 days after part 1. After the court cases, we arranged a Zoom call with the aunts, uncles, and cousins involved, where the full story came out. Not just what my Love Tap uncle had told in court. That's when the role Blabbermouth played became completely clear. Both my lawyer and their lawyer were present. They apologised and explained that they had felt genuinely hurt and angry, and that Blabbermouth had insisted they go and claim their rightful share because they deserved it. She told them I had said incredibly hurtful things, that they were family and they were entitled to it. Family shares, she said. They told us she openly admitted to manipulating them and claimed it worked. They repeated some of the insults and horrible actions that Blabbermouth had accused me of. They were hyped up by her, and yes, by their own greed too. But they now understand that this money is ours to do with as we choose. They acknowledge that our relationship is permanently damaged. They seem to realise that we're not willing or able to forget what happened. The attack on me, my character, and to some extent my husband as well. To be safe, I've put a no contact order in place against them for at least 1 year. It also dawned on them that breaking that order even once would mean they'd be seeing law enforcement again, because I don't back down. And they finally seem to understand that if we were ever willing to help anyone financially in the form of loans, they completely destroyed that possibility. We were brutally honest with each other. I was angry. I told them they're adults and should have known better than to jump to conclusions. When they first contacted me, I'd been calm and composed, but not this time. I let everything out. I told them the very least they could have done was show the decency and clarity of mind to ask the other party, me, for my side of the story and actually listen with an open mind. Instead, they chose to blindly believe the version that suited their narrative. I tore into them. I was, according to my husband and my lawyer, absolutely brutal. For 20 minutes, I laid it all out, no filter. My husband and lawyer both said they were not just impressed, but a little scared. After a lot of conversation, the call finally ended. The relationship might never fully heal, but at least we got everything on the table. I've made peace with that. If they could do what they did, then I don't want them as family in the first place. My lawyer said he thinks I've learned the hard lesson I needed to learn. Don't let people off the hook just because they're family. However, a few family members who weren't involved in the visit contacted me after the virtual call. They were curious how it was even possible to earn or acquire so much money. I shared a bit of info about investing and passed along the number of an advisor if they wanted professional help. Along with that, I gave a very clear warning. Investing has risks. I've made a lot of money, yes, but I've lost a good amount too. I told them plainly that if investing would put them into debt, they shouldn't do it. They thanked me for being honest. As for college funds or any kind of financial support for them, we won't be doing that. Not only because we don't have those kinds of close ties with them, but because we don't want anyone thinking that money can be guilted or demanded out of us with this kind of behavior. I didn't really have a relationship with most of them to begin with. Still, you don't treat family or anyone the way they treated us. My husband is still shaken by the whole thing. The family he remembered as mostly generous turned on us so easily. It really rattled him to see how quickly things changed and how he and I were treated. I just hope he'll be alright in the long run. So, that is the part of the story concerning my little love tap uncle and the visitors. I honestly wonder what the future will bring. Well, the good news is we don't have to wait too long, as of course there are still so many posts to go in this story. And just a couple of months later, we got an update. Not really on, I suppose, the future of what's going to happen with the entire family and this story, but more an update on OP's sister-in-law, Blabbermouth herself, and what happened next with her and her immediate family. And ultimately, that's kind of what we want to know about, right? This story is about this crazy, manipulative, as we've just seen, woman and her insane actions. So I'm excited to get into that. But before we do, I do need to say about the visitors or the family that were on that Zoom call. Like, you can't just say, oh, I'm really sorry, didn't actually think about it. We just had all this information from your sister-in-law and we just thought, yeah, you know what, we are entitled to this money. And that's why we did it. I'm so sorry. Like, that is the most spineless thing ever. If you're not willing to then go to the other person involved, as OP said, and say, is this true? Whatever. Like, just saying off the bat, listening to that information from somebody else, oh, yeah, you're right, I do deserve all this money that isn't mine. Like the point is, it's not a good excuse to say, oh, well, your sister-in-law told us this, therefore we acted like this. It makes no sense to me. And OP was well within her rights and did the right thing by having a go at them for 20 minutes. That sounds amazing, and I, for one, want to see the recordings. The aftermath concerning Blabbermouth Part 1. The last post was about what happened with my little love tap uncle, the visitors, and the aftermath surrounding them. This one is about Blabbermouth, my oh so lovely, not, sister-in-law who instigated the entire mess. Well, 2 of her kids have moved out after a very bad fight with her. The eldest, who is a 26-year-old woman, and her boyfriend already had a home waiting and just moved in. The renovations aren't finished, but she said she didn't care. They're sleeping on air mattresses in one of the bedrooms, and the rest of the house is still a mess because there's a lot left to renovate. The second kid, a 24-year-old man, is staying with his girlfriend at her parents' house where he helps with bills. Both of them have gone no contact with their parents after finding out what happened, specifically what their mother did. 2 of the younger kids, 21 and 19, are extremely annoyed but can't move out yet. They're not speaking to their mother and spend a lot of time sleeping at friends' places. The 17-year-old, however, still sides with his mother. But he's the baby, and Blabbermouth has always spoiled him. I've read some comments suggesting we cut Blabbermouth's children off. No, I'm not going to do that. The 17-year-old actually did a Blabbermouth and tried demanding money. I told him flat out, if he wanted his education largely paid for by my husband and me, then he needed to stop what he was doing and meet the requirements tied to that money. Otherwise, bye-bye funds. I made it very clear that if he starts acting like his mother, he can say goodbye to financial help. Edited to add, yes, the money comes with requirements, very strict ones. If they're not met, the money stops. I'm not entirely stupid. So far, he's stopped. His siblings tell me he's actually hilarious when he throws his temper tantrums about it. As expected, my brother-in-law and Blabbermouth aren't thrilled about my stance, as if I care. The rest of the family have also let her know exactly what they think. They called her, gave her a piece of their minds, and went full on no contact. Blabbermouth and my brother-in-law are now pariahs within the family. One cousin who'd agreed to help paint their house, not happening anymore. Another uncle who used to service their car for a discount told them to find another garage. A different cousin who was going to renovate their roof gave back the money they paid and told them to find someone else. My mother-in-law is heartbroken, and that's what hurts. I don't think she ever imagined her own daughter would do something like this, something that would rip the family apart. She still has contact with her grandkids, but her relationship with Blabbermouth is strange. Same goes for my father-in-law. Every Saturday, we used to have coffee with immediate family. My mother-in-law, father-in-law, Blabbermouth, my brother-in-law, their kids if they had time, us, and my other sister-in-law. We still see everyone else, but we avoid the meetups if we know Blabbermouth will be there. If we happen to arrive and see her pulling up, we pack our things and leave. Blabbermouth has been badgering my husband, me, and the kids, alternating between apologies and playing the victim. She didn't mean for this to happen. She's sorry, acting like she did nothing wrong. One time, she called my husband and he put her on speaker because I was curious to hear just how deep she'd dig herself, and she didn't disappoint. I ended up laughing hysterically while she spewed nonsense through the phone. I told her, point blank, if she didn't want this to happen, then why did she do it? Why did she tell all those lies? She just wanted money and used the rest of the family as her little minions to get it. Because if I'd pay for them, I could pay for her, right? She went silent. My lawyer is currently looking into whether any legal action can be taken against Blabbermouth. He has all the texts from both of us and other family members. Right now, he's gathering evidence for slander, harassment, and instigating both harassment and violence. He's digging deep and wants a solid case to throw everything at her. He even contacted the rest of the family to see if they were willing to hand over messages voluntarily. Most of them did. After the last phone call, Blabbermouth was blocked on our phones, emails, and social media. Once she realized she was blocked, she actually came to our house to try and sweet talk her way out of the mess. Her other brother came with her. They've even shown up together when they knew my husband wouldn't be home, trying to either intimidate or manipulate me. My answer? I called the police. Next, Blabbermouth tried slandering us to people around town. Unfortunately for her, that backfired hard. She now gets side-eyed by just about everyone in the area. But then she did something that actually scared us. One day a week, my mother-in-law picks up our youngest kids from school. They go to her place, have a snack, then the eldest, who goes to secondary school, joins them later. They do their homework there and then either stay for dinner or come home with us. On one of those days, my mother-in-law and father-in-law were running late due to a doctor's appointment. Blabbermouth was waiting outside our youngest kid's school. Why? We don't know. Thankfully, the kids saw her and stayed inside. Our eldest had finished school early and decided to walk to their school to wait with them and my mother-in-law. He saw Blabbermouth, went inside, and waited with his siblings. She left shortly after. We updated the school immediately. They promised to call the police if she's spotted again. In the meantime, we're waiting for approval on a no-contact order against both her and my brother-in-law. We've also moved to a new place. Initially, we didn't want to, but with everything that happened, we figured it was the safest decision. Word got out, and suddenly we had a lot of overly friendly neighbors. It didn't feel right. Now we're living in a town where my brother resides. The house is similar to our old one, and our kids already know other kids their age in the area. They'll be starting at their new school in September. Our eldest will stay at his current school. There's a solid bus route that makes the commute short and manageable. The best part, my brother lives just a 2-minute walk from us. The neighbors are friendly and welcoming. My parents also moved to a smaller home nearby, and no, we didn't pay for it. They were adamant that we wouldn't. The only thing we covered was the moving truck rental, with solid insurance, which made my mum froth at the mouth because she didn't even want us to pay that. When my husband and I are working, my parents sometimes swing by to check on the house. We don't mind. They've never done anything to make us question their trust. We're also looking into how to better protect ourselves. My husband, lawyer, and I are going over all the legal options. The new house already has security cameras with audio and video. Everything is recorded and backed up. Things are finally starting to calm down. We're still close with my husband's other sister, my brother, and other family members who had nothing to do with this mess. So that is the update part 1 about Blabbermouth. I'll post part 2 soon, and thankfully OP did. Just a few days later, actually, about 11 days later, we got part 2. We had a lot of conversations with my father-in-law about Blabbermouth's behaviour. He believes it mostly stems from jealousy. My husband and I went through several years of financial hardship before things got better. Even before we came into money, we lived a relatively comfortable life after gaining more financial stability. Blabbermouth, my brother-in-law, and their family weren't dirt poor, but they didn't enjoy as many holidays, weekends away, or day trips as we did. Things slowed down when our kids were born, but we still managed to go away from time to time, mostly thanks to my husband's knack for finding amazing travel deals, something our eldest is now learning too. My father-in-law thinks that's when the jealousy started, and that it only got worse after we came into more money. I asked if he thought she believed we were flaunting our wealth. He said it was possible. My husband and I believe her behaviour is a mix of jealousy and entitlement. She has always seemed to believe that she or her family should be the centre of attention, that they should benefit even when something isn't about them. It's like she thinks she deserves everything, even if it's not hers to ask for. According to my husband, this attitude started in childhood and just followed her into adulthood. I also asked my father-in-law why she disrespects me and my job. He said that, again, it's probably jealousy. I managed to complete college and both my bachelor's and master's degrees, and I've always worked, albeit less when our kids were born. Blabbermouth didn't pursue higher education. She's qualified as a childcare provider for daycare centres, and that's where it ends. She stopped working for years and eventually started cleaning homes to bring in a bit of extra cash. My father-in-law thinks that my educational rap sheet, as he jokingly called it, impressed her in the wrong way. She was jealous. Especially since, even before the investments paid off, I was earning significantly more than she ever did. Sometimes I wonder whether I did the right thing helping them at all. My intentions were good. I know how important education is, and I knew their kids would struggle to access college without taking on huge amounts of debt, either themselves or on their parents. My own parents worked hard to make sure my brother and I started adulthood debt-free, and I wanted to do the same for our nieces and nephews. And, to their credit, our nieces and nephews have always been incredibly grateful. They know exactly how much effort, time, and thought we put into helping them. They've never taken it for granted. At this point, we are completely no contact with both my brother-in-law and Blabbermouth. They don't know our current address, and we now have a PO box in another town. I changed my personal phone number, though I kept the old one for business purposes and for evidence gathering. We've been granted a temporary no contact order from the court. They're not allowed to contact us in any way, not even through third parties. We're hoping to extend it to at least 1 year, maybe even 2, if possible. Blabbermouth is also facing charges of defamation, harassment, and instigating violence. My lawyer is digging deep and throwing everything he legally can at her. The one thing I'm really thankful for is our friends. They never changed. They knew we had money, and they simply didn't care. What mattered to them was that we've always been there for them, and they've been there for us in both the good and bad times. My mother-in-law and father-in-law do know where we live, but they don't have the address written down anywhere. My husband drove them over once. He made it very clear to my mother-in-law that under no circumstance is she to give the address to anyone, not even directions. If somebody wants to contact us, she can pass on a message or phone number and we'll take it from there. The reason? My mother-in-law has a soft spot for Blabbermouth. Always has. She's asked a few times if reconciliation might be possible. We've said firmly, not at this point. Blabbermouth hasn't shown the slightest shred of genuine remorse. She's still trying to deny everything that happened and somehow twist it all back onto us. She blew up our family relationships all by herself. So, no. My mother-in-law kept pushing, saying Blabbermouth didn't mean it or didn't want this to happen. That was the moment I snapped. I actually love my mother-in-law, truly. She's sweet, kind, and has done so much for us, especially our kids. But I told her what I told Blabbermouth. You should be grateful for what you're given. Instead, she got greedy. I got slapped. I received threats against my life, against my husband's life, and even threats against our children. I don't care how heated the moment was. What kind of person lets things escalate to that point? Eventually, I got up and left. My husband and father-in-law had a talk with my mother-in-law afterwards. They made it clear, this isn't ours to fix. The burden is on Blabbermouth and no one else. I did apologise to my mother-in-law for losing my cool, but I didn't apologise for the message. That still stands. This entire situation has shaken me to my core. I've done things that go completely against my nature. I've always been the type to help where I can, even when we didn't have much money or were in debt. People were welcome at our table. They could stay over, eat with us, lean on us. Now, I constantly wonder if someone's sob story is sincere or just a tactic to get money out of me. It makes me feel like an ATM, nothing more. Do I regret helping? Yes and no. The 4 eldest children of Blabbermouth are doing great. So is my other sister-in-law, my parents, my brother, and his family. The certified loan cousin is thriving. He and his girlfriend are planning a few projects for their home and are saving towards them. He asked for investment advice, and I gave him a list of websites for courses and the number of the person who helped me years ago. We created a savings plan together, and I helped them build a budget. I actually volunteer for an organization that helps people manage debts. My only real regret is helping her, Blabbermouth, giving her the chance to share in our good fortune. But honestly, if I hadn't helped her, I don't think the outcome would have been any different. She probably would have acted the same way regardless. I'm sure she'll pop up again at some point, rearing her ugly head into our lives. But if she does, my dear friend, my lawyer, will be more than ready. He'll be sharpening his legal knives with a grin. As of now, we're just waiting for Blabbermouth's court case. And to see what happens in that, guys, you're going to have to subscribe to the channel and turn notifications on so you get notified when I post the next episode in this series, episode 4, which may or may not include that court case. Who knows? I don't want to give any spoilers. So, yeah. Just subscribe, turn notifications on, and you will see when the next episode is uploaded. A couple of things I do just want to say, though, before we end this one. Firstly, I didn't really mention it after the first 2 posts in this episode, but I just feel very bad for your husband, and I understand why he is so shaken by this whole thing, because ultimately, this is his family. As I said at the end of the last episode, episode 2, like, we don't really know anything that's going on from your side of the family at all, OP, but this is all his family, and so I'm sure that he sort of, like, feels guilty for it, right? Like, it's his sister that's doing all this stuff, not yours. And the only reason that she is in your life is, of course, because of him. Now, obviously, it doesn't really work like that. And yeah, she shouldn't feel guilty, but I presume that he does. And that's why he's shaken, because his family that he's known his entire life, that he's thought were great and really trusted, actually, they've shown themselves to be like this when it's come down to it. Obviously, not a nice feeling. Fair enough. And secondly, I get it. It's hard for your husband's mum to not side with her daughter or recognize how horrible she's being, but she needs to sort of look at the facts and say to herself, my daughter has tried to coerce, or has coerced actually successfully, our pretty much entire family into threatening and at one point actually physically harming my son's wife. Like, that is a crazy statement, and knowing that, how can you side with your daughter? But anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this one. Subscribe to the channel, noties on, I'll say it one more time, and you will not miss the next episode. Take care and have a good one.